Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of You Can Get There From Here. I'm Dr. Joe Moore, Chair of the Department of Communication and Digital Media Production at the University of Central Missouri, and it's my pleasure every week to get to talk to some of our graduates. Talk to some who got their master's degrees, some who got their bachelor's in either communication studies or digital media, and I even get a chance to talk every once in a while to some who did both. So today we get one of those. Say hello to Stuart Duncan. Stuart is a graduate of the program. He got his bachelor's in communication studies and then stuck around and got his master's. Stuart, great to have you on the show. How you doing today?
Hey, Dr. Moore, doing well. Fantastic to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you. When we reached out to you and you sent me your testimonial about what the program meant to you and what you're doing today, I was like, yeah, I got to get Stuart because this sounds really cool. So before we get to what you're doing now, let's talk about what got you to UCM. So give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah, so I'm actually born and raised from Warrensburg, Missouri. So I had a bit of a more of a tie to UCM than most. My mom was actually, she worked in the payroll department for her entire career. And so when I was first coming to college, it was kind of a no-brainer to go to UCM. And it was really cool to actually be on the same campus as her while she was working before she was retired. So that's what led me to UCM. Leading up to going to school, I participated in things like DECA and FBLA. And so I knew that I wanted to do something kind of with business, but I didn't really want to go the straight marketing route or sales route. And that's what led me to the communication studies department. And looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Well, I will say, as a parent who has kids going to UCM, all three of my children have either gone to or are going to UCM. I think I can speak for your mom saying it's pretty cool having your kids on campus too. So when did she retire?
She retired in 2017, I believe. So I got 2 years of my undergraduate with her on campus.
And she worked in payroll?
She did, yep.
Okay, remind me to send her a thank you note because she's the reison I got paid every month. So,
I'm sure you're familiar with her. Get your timesheets and emails.
oh yeah. What's she doing now?
She's enjoying her retired life. She does a lot of traveling, a lot of projects around the house, and when she gets too bored, she works at the gift shop at the Phantom Distillery down the road from the house that I grew up in. So,
Oh, okay. All right. So you live down there by the Phantom Distillery and Colton's.
yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're really glad those two businesses came into town.
Yeah, they seem to be a hit.
Yeah. So then you come to UCM, you get your bachelor's degree in communication studies, got your master's degree. What made you decide to stick around for that master's after you finished your bachelor's?
Well, it was one of those things that I had always kind of toyed with the idea of getting my master's degree. And I think when I sat down kind of towards the end of my senior year of undergraduate, I realized if I didn't do it now, I probably wouldn't get around to coming back to it. And so, being in the position that I was to be able to still be living in Warrensburg and further my education, I thought this is as good a time as ever. And with a little help and guidance from, the professors in my department and some counselors that really were in my corner, I was able to get hooked up with the Comm Studies graduate program and found my way into teaching public speaking and taking the graduate route. And it was really cool and glad that I did that and decided to stay for another couple of years and get that master's. And now I can hold it over my head of everyone in my family that I have the highest degree. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's always nice to have those bragging rights. And that's always that question too. We get for students that I think I want to get a master's degree. I just don't know if I want to go right through or if I want to go get some experience and come back. That's always a challenge, whether you will or not, because you think about if I do it right now, you could go the route you did and possibly get a graduate assistantship that pays for it. Or you can go get a job and be working and then go back and work on your master's part-time. And now you're probably going to be paying for it, but you have a job to be paying for it. So yeah, you and I went the same route. They were like, I want it. And I'm afraid I won't come back and get it. So let's just get it knocked out right now. So, and it
Yeah.
looks like it's paid off really well for you. Tell us about what you're doing today, because it's really the things you're doing are really cool.
Yeah, so when I first finished up my graduate studies, I didn't really know what route I wanted to take. I had a friend that hooked me up with a job in sales for insurance. Found out quickly that I did not enjoy that at all. So from there, I kind of put in about a year at the insurance company and then totally flipped the script and found myself working at a metal fabrication shop building monument signs, which was actually a really cool experience. Learned how to weld and all kinds of things I
Oh,
never thought
wow.
that I would do. Yeah. And
You really can do anything with a communication degree.
absolutely. And then from there, I had some connections that led me to CBM, Cleaves-Bessmer-Marietti in Lee Summit. And we're a manufacturer's rep, which means we're essentially outsourced salesmen for a number of different manufacturers. All of our manufacturers making electric utility equipment. So what I do now is account management and sales for CBM. So I sell anything from, overhead transmission equipment to giant substation breakers and regulators. I work with companies like Evergy and a lot of the local co-ops in and around Missouri. We kind of have that Midwest territory. And so I see a lot of faces. I talk to a lot of people from all different walks of life and pretty much on a day-to-day basis. I'm building relationships and maintaining those relationships. It's really fun.
So CBM is a B2B, a business to business organization, correct?
Absolutely. We handle transactions going from, the source of the product to most of the time to distributors, which then goes to end users. Every now and then we'll facilitate sales from direct from the manufacturer to the end user, and then that end user ends up bringing the power to your home.
And that's, I think that's a foreign concept to a lot of people, the business to business type of sales, because we typically think it's a business selling to an individual. I don't know that anybody ever really dreams of, or that's their ultimate goal is to get into a B2B business. How did you find it? Because I mean, it sounds like that wasn't manufacturing wasn't your background or anything like that. Was it the culture of the business that appealed to you? Was it the product they were selling? What was it that really made it stand out for you?
Yeah, so actually, it was one of those things where through relationships that I had, it kind of led me to someone who was at the company that said that I would be a great fit for it. And I went and interviewed. And because of the experience with my first sales job in insurance, it actually took about 3 or 4 interviews for me to say, okay, I'll give this a shot because I was so turned off to sales.
Right.
But I'm really glad that I did. And it's an employee owned company. We're actually part of an ESOP. And so the community and the sense of pride in the work that's facilitated through being an employee owned company and kind of what we do and the message that we have around the office, it really appeals to me. And to further your point about how it's kind of an elusive subject of these business to business sales, it took me probably all of a year plus to even really learn how it worked. To add a little confusion to it, we're a manufacturer's rep. We're not just selling our product. And so there's a lot of gray areas there and there's a lot of learning. And one of the things that I'm most thankful about this position is that I'm able to learn every day. And I learn something new every day, whether it's, technical knowledge. It was pretty much a fast track to engineering, an engineering degree, electrical engineering. Um, but I learned something, whether it's technical knowledge or whether it's just about fostering relationships and better understanding how I communicate and work with others, because no customer is the same, no client's the same. And so it really takes some time and a lot of patience and attention to detail to really know all the quirks of all your customers and be able to effectively communicate and maintain relationships with them.
Well, and I love your journey because you're now an advocate for you're going to be a lifelong learner. You got into insurance, you learned a little bit about insurance and learned this isn't for me. You got into welding and fabrication of metals and things. We don't teach that in our program, but your communication skills and your willingness to learn led you to that job, and then it takes you from there, and you get into your current role with CBM, and you're learning every day. And so I think that's the beauty of a college education is just teaching you how to learn, teaching you how to ask those questions and go from one step to the next. What classes, what activities were you involved in college that you really feel like got you to this point? And you talk about your classes, you can talk about your undergrad, your graduate, whichever ones you like.
Yeah, there was a number of classes that really had an impact on me when I was at UCM. I think one that specifically stands out to me in my undergrad was the Dale Carnegie course. Um,
Everybody talks about that Dale
Everyone
Carnegie.
does, and for good reason. I think I took it with Dr. Terry Conconin, and I think that he was a fantastic professor and a fantastic professor to teach that course in particular. And I think that it's one of those courses, the reason that it has such an impact on a lot of people who take it is because it really kind of shifted my mindset about interaction with people, whether it be in an academic setting or just in day-to-day life. As most young students probably are whenever they get to UCM. I'm sure that public speaking is probably the at the bottom of the list of classes that they're excited for.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and I was the same way, and I think that, after taking that course, it just shifted my mindset on approaching talking to people and approaching, being able to stand and talk in front of my peers, in front of my students, which really had an impact on me whenever I decided to, move into graduate studies and teach public speaking. And when I was going through my undergrad and I had my public speaking, I also took it with a GA. And I was able to then kind of, put my own spin as a GA on it. And I think that, the same impact that my GA professor had on me, I hope that I had that same impact on some of my students.
Well, and you talked an awful lot too in your testimonial to me about theories and about theories that you had learned in your graduate program and how you'd been able to apply that. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think that the theories class one, it's just so interesting. There's so many topics covered that you are aware of, but you can't really put it into words or, put some sort of framework to it until you take that class and dissect it and find a deeper meaning to it. And I think moving forward into, my career as a young adult, I've been able to take some of those theories that we've learned and discussed in that class and apply them to some of the interactions that I have on a day-to-day basis. One that I can think of that has a very big prevalence in the work that I do would be kind of groupthink.
Oh, yeah.
There's, especially with a lot of the rural co-ops and things that I service, the smaller power companies. There's a lot of older engineers that are stuck in their ways, and if co-op A does something, co-op B does something because they want to do the same thing. They want to stay with the competition, and so really being able to understand that and know that on a deeper level is how you can start to dismantle that groupthink and how you can start to, inject new ideas. And with, all of the advancements in technology and just as time goes on, you can't stay stagnant and doing the same things. And so I think that having a fresh, younger perspective and applying the theories and the knowledge learned in at UCM, it makes it a lot easier for me to do my job and introduce new things to these customers that can sometimes be stuck in their ways and fall victim into that group think kind of mindset.
And isn't it nice those things that you learn in the classroom and then you can draw back on the names of them and the theory or the concept or whatever it was. And you're like, okay, that was money well spent. You think about it that way. One
Absolutely.
class that we do offer now, we didn't offer when you were in school, I don't believe, that you might have wanted to take, given what you're doing now. You've started a podcast and called the Power the Network.
Yeah, so I am not the one that does the interviewing or the recording. We outsource a media team that does our recording for us. They have a nice studio and take care of it, make it look all pretty. But it was really cool being able to be in the conversations that formulated this podcast. And so, Power of the Network is kind of the brainchild of a lot of different facets and groups within CBM. It's hosted by Tim Locker, and essentially what it is a biweekly podcast where we bring, some of the more notable names at some of our factories, some of the key influential players at some of our clients and customers. We'll have somebody on every other week to discuss kind of what they see in the market, what they bring to the market, new trends that are coming, and just have a conversation about, all three of our groups, which electric utility, broadband and communication, and contracting and industrial work. So it's really cool to kind of keep a finger on the pulse of all three of those markets and be able to share knowledge and within our space and be able to show the factories who we essentially work for that, we're doing everything we can to push the information, bring the word of what's going on with these factories to our customers, which is really cool. It's really cool to see.
Well, and this medium, this podcast idea, is such a fun way to be able to have these interactions, to be able to educate, to be able to share, to be hopefully be able to entertain a little bit. Do the people that that are a part of your podcast that are being interviewed, do they know one another from the profession, or is it just a matter of, well, I know they're an expert in this field or they're a leader there, so I'm going to listen to what they have to say?
So some of them know each other just from being in the space. In my line of work, I noticed that there's a lot of people that have been in this work for their entire career, whether it be at one place or the other. Kind of a running saying is, you may leave the company, but you don't leave the industry. So there are a lot of people that do know each other, a lot of relationships that exist. We have relationships with everyone that we bring on the podcast, whether it be from, us working with them closely on a day-to-day basis, from our company to the factory level or vice versa from our company to our customers, our clients. So it's typically they're invited by the vice president. He has kind of a list, and we all kind of try to keep a running list of people that we think would be interesting and have a good message to bring to our audience members.
So are you doing anything cool with it? Like I still am having a hard time, but more people are watching this podcast than are actually listening to it. To me, that's a television show. But my kids said, Dad, you have to video it. You have to share the video and everything too. Are you doing any video with it? Are you doing any live, anything like that?
Yeah, so we also upload to YouTube and we also have it on our company's website as well. So people do view it as well and consume the media that way. One of the coolest things that we've done recently was at one of our trade shows in MATS. It's a broadcast kind of broadband and communications trade show. We had our booth doing the CBM booth had a live recording of the Power of the Network podcast. So the CBM's booth was very popular that day. I think it was about an hour and 10 long episode where had one guest and live audience that just kind of popped in and out as the day went on. So it was really cool to be able to take a concept that had been just behind closed doors, recording and put it out there live in front of a live trade show.
Oh, that's cool. There's so many things that you can do with the technology today to get your message out there. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Yep. And we try to put all the information that we can into any form that's going to be as accessible as it can to our customers.
What is next for Stuart Duncan?
Well, I am super happy at working at CBM where I'm at. Right now, in the account management position, there is more than enough to keep my hands full. But looking down the line, I definitely want to stay with this company for as long as the run makes sense. And there's opportunities for growth, whether it be, opening new territories. One of my latest projects is kind of developing the Iowa, Nebraska market for our vendors. So that's new within the last year. We started that in 2024. And so for that, I've been helping from the inside with my counterpart. He runs the accounts from the outside. And so did quite a bit of traveling to get to know all of the new customers in that market. We're working on expanding our lines to bring more of our vendors out that way. So I think just opening up to new territories and continuing to foster relationships between my existing customers and clients and expand my list of customers and clients. I think that's really what I'm working towards, looking down the line.
Well, and you said that you want to continue to grow within the company. So what does motivate you? What is your why?
I think my why is that I'm inspired by ownership. Being an owner of the company, working in an ESOP, working at an employee-owned company, it really does give you a sense of pride in what you do. And, we all succeed together, we all fail together. And so that keeps me motivated to really put forth my best foot every day that I show up, every conversation that I have. It's not just affecting me, it's affecting everyone. And I take pride in my work, and I think everybody at CBM does. And it's really nice to be surrounded by people who think alike in that way.
That sounds like an amazing culture to be working in. Educate me here. What does ESOP stand for?
So it stands for Employee Stock Ownership Program.
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
That
Yep.
was
So
a that was a term
yeah,
I wasn't familiar with.
yeah, it wasn't I wasn't familiar with it until I got there as well. But it's basically, we all have shares of our company, and it's actually a relatively new thing. CBM's been around for 65 plus years, and we switched over to an ESOP about 20 years ago. And so yeah, it keeps everybody motivated. It keeps everybody working as hard as they can. And it, like I said, it's inspiring to be around a group of like-minded thinkers
Yeah.
and people that want to show up and do their best every day.
Yeah, I love that concept. That's such a cool idea that the owners or the employees own part of the company because I mean, if you own it, you're going to want to see it succeed because that's where your bread and butter is coming from. So, well, Stuart, it's been great having you on the show. I do have one or two final questions for you, and I ask everybody these. Um, First of all, for a current UCM student, they're getting ready to graduate, they're getting ready to get out there in the world, or they're just getting started at UCM. What would be a piece of advice you would have for them? And then for a student who's thinking about coming to UCM, either for their undergrad and comm studies, or they've already have their bachelor's and they're thinking about a master's, what would you tell them?
Yeah. So to start off with someone who's thinking about coming to UCM, I think it's important to really immerse yourself in what you're learning. Um, it can be easy as an undergraduate to just kind of show up and go through the motions. But it really is you get out of it what you put into it. And I
Yep.
think that it's super important to not only, put your best foot forward in your work, but also get to know your professors, create relationships with your peers, and always stay open to learning, kind of like what we addressed
Yep.
earlier.
Yep. That's
And
very
for anybody that is, what's next, finishing up their career at UCM and looking on towards the future, I think just to kind of echo what I said, always stay open. Don't be afraid to, explore an opportunity that you may be unsure of, because that's exactly how I got where I'm at. Stay open to any and all opportunities that come your way. If it doesn't work out, there's always another opportunity.
well, Stuart, you've done some amazing work. I love the again. I'm gonna go back to what I said before. The idea you're an advocate for lifelong learning and continuing to push yourself and expand your horizons and see what else, how else you can grow within your company or how what else is out there. Just to continue learning. You've represented us well. I sure appreciate it. I'm so proud of you. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Dr.
And thanks all of you for tuning in. Remember, you can catch every episode on our YouTube channel through the UCM Media Network. That's youtube.com/UCMMN. You can also listen on Spotify. Special thanks to Jake Mager for creating our theme music. And again, this is Dr. Joe Moore reminding you, you can get there from here. Have a great day.